Take 503.
28. Okay, careful. Hey, y'all. I am Julie Davis, Good Juju Realtor, bringing you good juju in real estate instead of the bad juju. Here locally, Alachua, actually in the city of Alachua and Alachua County and surroundings. And I have brought here today my favorite lender, Stone Kefauver from Union Home.
I'm touched.
I'm allowed to say that, right?
You are.
Okay. Because I want to make sure we're not like doing anything weird against, NAR or anything like that. But yeah, we can't, when
you have a favorite.
You provide solutions that have really changed the game for me in real estate. So what's wrong with me saying that? Anyways, that's what we're going to say today, folks. So the reason we're here is I brought Stone because I wanted him to explain, as you all know, what's going on in the industry with the interest rates being as high as they've been in how long, Stone?
Like the last 20 years.
It's insane. It's literally affected probably everybody, buyers, sellers listening, colleagues of mine. It's really affected all of us in some way, shape, or form. And the reason I wanted Stone to come is we've partnered on a program that he offers. It actually is advantageous for buyers and sellers. Stone, can you just explain, remember when I first started with you, explain it in the way you did when I said, really help me understand when I'm talking to a seller to help them help the buyers and bring more attention and drive more traffic to their home, and at the same time helping the buyer with your, you call it the rate boost, or what'd you say?
So, Julie, I love your question. Everybody, I'm Stone the lender right here. And just like Julie says, we've been working uniquely with sellers and with buyers in this market to really take advantage of what we're seeing in surplus is equity, while we're seeing the opposite in affordability. Right. I mean, we're seeing people really struggle to be able to get qualified at these higher percentage rates. Since we're touching high 7s to 8s in the middle of October.
It's unreal.
And like I mentioned, it hasn't been this way in 20 plus years. Now, is it around average wise interest rates? We've seen between 5 to 7%. That's historically an average we have. But we are pushed back beyond that average right now.
Right. And
with inflation still continuing to show pressure, we don't know when that's going to subside. But in this market, like you're mentioning, there's a lot of advantageous ways to really decrease that interest rate and get the buyer's payment more suitable to their budget.
Right.
That's kind of what we talk about on the seller side.
Right. So that was the
buyer side.
When you're saying get the payment more advantageous, what really hit me is when you explained it as such, where you can have somebody selling a home, a traditional home that's not utilizing this program, that would be utilizing the interest rates at let's say 7.2%. And then you come with the Seller Boost program, and we're working with the sellers. It's the commission, it's the concessions that we're using, right?
What we're seeing right now, we're seeing a surplus of equity among homeowners. Multi-trillion dollars worth of equity that we haven't seen historically in America. So sellers have the ability, when they're selling their homes at these higher price points, because the market comparably allows them to, right?
Right.
Compared to what we've seen the last 3 to 5 years. But they can use that surplus of equity and give it back to the buyer at closing, a portion of it, to get that interest rate lower of an interest rate buy down. So simply it's prepaid interest up front by that seller to get that payment lower.
Got it.
And by doing so, instead of dropping the price $10,000, $20,000, but instead giving it $10,000, $20,000 as to buy down an interest rate,
right,
it can save that buyer $100, maybe $200 than going at that lower purchase price.
Right, which could be literally the difference for being able to make an offer in the first place. Can I afford? Some people, a lot of my customers have literally been down to, hey, we can only afford $1,200 a month, and that's where we need to be. And we're looking at houses, and when we're comparing a house that's the same price, but the seller's not coming in with that concession allowance to drop down the rate, and then we could be coming in, what, 5.85? We just did it with the last one, right?
It's like a $200,000 plus home, and market rate at the time was like 7.75, 7.5.
Right.
And we were able to get the seller to agree to this, so he's going to utilize concessions to bring the rate down to 5.75, and we decided to lock it with the seller because we made that agreement with you, the seller.
Right.
And now the property for a qualified buyer can be having a 5.75% rate for the client.
Right. And the cool thing is it's on that property, that address,
Mhm.
which you explained to me, which is amazing, that now this home is now more marketable for the seller. You know, it's going to get us a quicker turnaround in regards to getting offers because it's made it more affordable for the average buyer.
Yeah.
So explain a little bit more so that if sellers might have the question about, well, what's that? Do I have a choice here? I mean, how, as far as how much are willing to drop the price, it's more about creativity, correct?
It's most about unique to that property. So we can be very aggressive with it. Try to go for a 5% rate, like your one seller did here, and some other sellers have done.
Right.
Or we can look to be less aggressive, but still provide a competitive rate, because this is what builders are doing too.
Yeah, that's a good
They're
point.
building it into the price with it, and being a seller in this market, it's challenging competing against new construction homes.
That's true.
When they're able to offer these incentives.
Incentives.
Incentives
With concessions.
Incentives with concessions.
That's right.
So with your sellers, what they can do is do that too, but also market a rate with it as well.
Okay.
So they're trying to be comparable and compete in this market. It's a difficult market to compete in.
It really is.
But if you're able to, you can give not just yourself, but your buyers affordability.
Right.
And it also works for the buyer side too if you're in this market.
Mm-hmm.
I have multiple buyers right now that are utilizing this approach on I call it a buyer boost perspective, because they're boosting how much they can actually buy.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of qualifying,
yeah, you're boosting their buying power, right?
Exactly. Instead of qualifying like 195, we're able to qualify 220, 225, because we're able to get that concessions amount as part of it and bring that into the purchase price, bring that into the prepaid interest, and when they come to closing, they have a much lower payment.
Right.
And that really impacts, like I said, qualifiability,
yeah,
but also the better type of home they can get to, right?
Absolutely. They're getting more bang for their buck, literally.
Mm-hmm.
But can you explain that with the situation for my seller currently, where we started out with the 214 and the difference with a home at that rate? So it would have been what, 7.25, I think it was, and we bought it down to 5.89%. Explain again what the difference was, how much the buyer is saving per month and over the 30 years.
So just in regards to this one-to-one comparison with the purchase price,
right?
They were saving about $294, and then
that's amazing.
And then over the course of a loan, it was a little bit rough, 90,000.
I mean, that's unbelievable.
Now, if we went to look at what happens if they reduce the price, so let's say the buyer came in, instead of asking for concessions, offered like 204, right?
Right.
Let's say that was the case, the payment was still about $97 to $100 lower at the 214 with the concessions than the 204 with the without no concessions. So that's really where that advantage comes in for that buyer.
Yeah.
Is they can qualify for lower payment. They can have a payment that, we don't know if we'll ever get rates that are lower than 5.75, 5.5. We might not.
Those days could be gone.
So there might not be an opportunity to refinance to a lower payment.
Mm-hmm.
But at least you're setting yourself up for, not just success now, but success in the future
with
that home.
Yep. I love it. Sorry, it's a little sweaty out here right now. So.
You look great,
it is. Thank you, Stone. It is Florida still, after all, y'all.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, so in regards to that, is there anything that you'd like to leave the folks with so that they know how to get a hold of you? And obviously we're going to put the information on below the video.
Like we've been talking about multiple times, Julie, especially with you and other realtors that work within this market, is in this market right now, it may look difficult, but it's actually one of the unique markets where you can truly negotiate your payment. Because what happens when markets have pressure from higher interest rates is sellers have to be willing to work with buyers.
Right.
But they don't in a lower interest rate environment.
That's
what
true.
Ends up happening,
that's a good point.
Is historically, when interest rates are lower, we tend to see house prices get higher. And because of that, there is usually multiple offers and more competition, less negotiability.
There you go.
So right now,
That's
as a buyer,
well said.
They have a unique opportunity to negotiate and really take advantage of this market, even though it might seem challenging. It is a unique situation to get a home now and avoid the cost of waiting. Because what I mean by that is, let's just say we take a $200,000 home.
What you mentioned about next year, what can happen in 1 year's time?
With homes here, at least in the U.S., we have a 4% average. Here in the state of Florida, it's about 3.6 to 4% average. So let's say we take 4%, $200,000 home. That home projected is about $214 next year. That's $212. So let's say we look at $12,000 in equity that you've just missed out.
Yeah.
But what happened? They say we can wait for rates to get lower. Well, let's say rates went down 1% next year. Let's say we're looking at 7.5. We're looking at 6.5, right? well, that's only going to be about maybe $100 difference. But when we look at the 12,000 that you've just gained, like lost in equity, that either makes you have the same payment next year, miss out on the equity, or even slightly higher payment because we don't know where the interest rate's going to land.
Right. And if you have to rewind this and listen to it over again, fine, because I had to have him explain it to me multiple times.
Yeah.
But it really does all make sense in regards to if you have trepidation about should I go forward, should I sell my home? And also as a buyer, should I go forward? Can we buy a home?
Yeah.
If you need to rewind this and listen to it over, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out.
Yeah.
I'm going to put both of our contacts information in here, and we'd be happy to have a conversation with you.
Yeah, simply what we want to do here, I think what Julie kind of communicated to me, again, I just showed up with a text, so
and a free latte.
And a free latte. It's pretty much just kind of explain to you guys that in this market, there is not a no. There is let's get creative and find a yes.
I love it. Love it. Rock solid funding. Thanks, y'all. Have a wonderful day.
Absolutely.